Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my little 2016 year-end review. I used to do these probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I haven't done one for a while, actually, a few years, for varying reasons. Been busy, been doing whatever, I don't know. Whatever reasons, no excuses, really. I should have been doing them. I quite enjoy doing them. It's quite good to have a bit of a retrospect look on exactly what I've been up to throughout the year. So to start things off, I'll talk about the streaming that I've been doing. Really enjoyed streaming throughout the year, through various stages. Obviously, sometimes I've been crazy busy, so I haven't been able to stream, and I apologise for that. That's just the way my life is. Streaming is basically a second to obviously casting. So whenever I have a casting gig, I have to obviously give up the streaming because suddenly that is what I'm paid to do. Streaming is more of a fun thing. And I've really enjoyed the streaming because it's basically what's given me the chance to obviously not only interact with people that have fans and etc. whatnot that have actually become friends almost, but also it's given me the ability to not only play the multiplayer games but to play single player games. Now I know you all have that feeling of when you're playing a single player game. I know pretty much everyone I know I talk to about this. You just get bored after a while because you're kind of on your own. You're doing your own thing. I don't know. Maybe if you like solitude, sometimes you'll enjoy it. But generally, I'll get to that point when I'm playing a single player game, and it's suddenly be like, okay, I want to play a multiplayer game. Go back to, Overwatch, League of Legends, whatever you want to call it. You go back to some sort of multiplayer game that you're back used to playing. But that's how streaming's gone. I will be continuing that throughout 2017 and beyond. I'm really enjoying it. I've gone beyond the point of caring what game to play. I just play anything on there, be it Football Manager, which I know a lot of you guys have liked, which completely blew me away. I don't know why anyone would enjoy watching that, but I kind of get it now. It's the interaction of you're playing while I'm playing, and you kind of like seeing how others are going, and that's pretty much how most of the games have gone. But anyway, that's the streaming. So let's talk about 2016, a year in review. Let's go right back to the start, which is back in January. A lot of guys and fans out there may be completely unaware, because I never certainly went public with this, and I've no meaning of any malice going public with this. But back in January 2016, I actually interviewed for the position of commentator, play-by-play commentator with Riot Games back in North America. Now, obviously, as you know, I left in 2014 and 2014. So obviously there was a bit of previous, there was reasons for leaving, reasons for trying to rejoin, reason of doing that. Anyone that's been to North America will know that the Riot HQ is phenomenal in North America. The scene is very vibrant in North America, obviously. Lots of transfers, lots of big teams, etc. New teams. There's quite a lot going on, a lot of transfers. So I was kind of intrigued into do North America. Obviously, if you look at world's performances, then clearly, obviously, North America still suck and still struggle at Worlds. But nonetheless, it's an entertaining field to commentate in, I thought. And obviously, being a former League of Legends commentator, I really enjoyed it. Now, over the week that I went to Riot, well, give or take a week that I went there, over the 2 days, I had an interview period. I did 24 interviews over that 2-day period. Now, it was a pretty packed schedule, and they even said it themselves. They said, apologise, like, it is going to be a pretty grueling schedule, 30-minute interviews through literally everyone, obviously casters, everybody within esports, like a plethora of people that you'd interact with as a job. Now, ultimately, obviously, I didn't get the job because, as you know, I'm not casting for Riot, and it was rejected by 3 people, I think, over the 24 interviews. And obviously, those sort of companies, it generally is a one person rejects, that's it, it's done. Now, I have no hard feelings whatsoever about that. Kind of agree, actually, with one of the persons that certainly rejected me, and I completely understand his reasons for it. I'm not going to name any names, but really for me, that kind of put the bookend to basically my career as a commentator of League of Legends. That was kind of where it went for me. Now, it isn't a be-all and end-all. I've not completely done with it, but for now, that certainly was enough for me to basically say, okay, you need to move on, do something else, which is where obviously I went. So that was back in January. Now, obviously, at the time, I was doing Counter-Strike. I'd been doing Counter-Strike for the 2015 and through 2016 up until around March. Now I was going from play-by-play to hosting a desk. I was doing a bunch of different things. It wasn't really, I never really found my ground basically in Counter-Strike. And it got to the point in March where I actually got removed from doing the Pro League finals, which I was kind of annoyed with. But I actually kind of have no regrets about it, because while I enjoyed Counter-Strike, I never loved it. Like, you know, I didn't love it like I loved League of Legends from the start. Like, I enjoyed Counter-Strike. I absolutely love watching Counter-Strike. I really enjoy seeing the big players in here, and there's a lot of tactical side of it, and just some of the goddamn amazing skill shots you see. So it's always good to see that, but I probably didn't really have the passion required that, say, a lot of the casting talent currently have there. You know, obviously we just saw Henry and Matt both getting themselves the award for top commentators, and absolutely well deserved. They love it. You know, you only need to speak to Henry about it and just understand just how incredibly devoted to Counter-Strike he is. And I wasn't at that level. I loved it, but I wasn't at that level, and I think it showed. I think that's probably what it showed, which kind of helped me in a way, because it basically made me move on. But I also was in a bit of a down period at the time, because, you know, I'd been rejected from League, almost basically rejected from Counter-Strike, and it was at the stage of like, do I even continue casting? Do I stop? Am I done? Because throughout the years, like, while I have been commentating for probably about 15 years now, whatever it's been, I've only ever commentated games I absolutely love. And obviously I was in the position of like, I need to find a new game that I love. And that was a tough task. So obviously at the time there wasn't really a great deal out there. I was like, do I go back to my old job, which was a web developer? Do I move on to producing games? Instead, do I go behind the scenes, the camera side, which actually, you know, you look at, say, Corey Dunn, he's done it very successfully. And you look at a couple of other people, they've all been very successful going behind the scenes. You look at Aceback, actually, Matt Hovin, he's one of the producers at ESL, and he's obviously behind the scenes doing a lot of the big events. So I was wondering, do I go to that side? And basically I ended up just playing a lot of games because I didn't have anything to do. I basically didn't have anything to do. So streaming was obviously going on in the background, and I was basically using that as a platform to find a new game I absolutely loved. And luckily for me, obviously the beta phase of Overwatch was going at the time. So I was like, okay, let's give it a go. I hadn't had a chance during the alpha when Mitch and Jason were hitting it hard in the end of 2015. So I never really had a chance to play it back then because I was busy looking towards Counter-Strike at the time. I was casting Counter-Strike pretty heavily, so it was a fairly grueling schedule. But it got to the point where I was like, okay, I absolutely love Overwatch. Like, I tried it originally, and it was single player. I didn't like it single player. But then I started playing with friends because I got more and more friends into beta, and then obviously it got released. And suddenly it was like, yes, I absolutely love this game. It's like back in there. You kind of finally found that love that you had back when I started playing League of Legends with friends. I mean, I wasn't 5-man in it in League of Legends, just like I'm not 6-man in it in Overwatch. But you just have to play with 2 or 3 people, and you can just have fun with it. And that's really where Overwatch grew for me as a commentator. I was like, okay, I could commentate this. So I started to look at it. Obviously, there wasn't really a commentating scene at the time. You know, as with new games, when games come out, everybody's kind of trying to find the ground of like, how do we commentate this game? Overwatch is a pretty damn tough game to commentate, and obviously that's what led into then through the middle of the year, through I think it was possibly June. I'm not sure if it was before June or not. Maybe May, June, July period. I know certainly obviously into August for Gamescom was when we started in the Overwatch Atlantic Showdown. I was involved in the start of it, obviously going through it. And really that's where we kind of all found our ground. Mitch and Jason had obviously been doing various beta tournaments throughout it, and they did the takeover thing. So I went along to takeover as like my first Overwatch look and see how it's going. I've obviously been practice commentating before that. Didn't commentate at takeover. It was interesting to see how the tournament laid out. Now obviously we'd gone into our Atlantic Showdown then. So we had 4 days a week casting. I think it was for 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. I'm not sure what the period was over, because you had the 4 weeks of qualifiers and then you had the regionals. And I think it was either 5 or 6 weeks it was over. But it was constant, and that's exactly what I needed. And any commentator out there actually needs to start yourself in a scene. You just need to commentate a hell of a lot to learn how to commentate the game, what to commentate and what not to commentate. Especially as a play-by-play person for Overwatch, it's very hard to figure out the grounds of what you should be mentioning and what not. It's basically, for me, I looked at it straight away from a League of Legends perspective as like, look for, a team fight, a 5v5 team fight of League of Legends. You have a lot going on, but you look for the big impactful moments, and that's exactly what I do in Overwatch. The team fights generally, actually, probably you could probably put the same thing across any big multiplayer game that's like a 5v5, 6v6 type scenario. You look for those big impactful plays. Think of an Earth Shatter. Think of McCree suddenly gets lucky and catches 4 of them. They're the sort of things. A Reaper coming in, the old Reaper copter. Thank God that's kind of no longer a thing. But those sort of things, you always look for the big things. Now, obviously with CrossFire, going ahead of myself there. Obviously with Overwatch, it's very hard to do sometimes because it's tricky to not only cast, but at the time we were having to spectate as well. So it's a tricky game to spectate, as I'm sure everyone's aware. So there's a lot of tough territory, but it was also fun because you're rediscovering a new game scene that you love commentating, and suddenly you're kind of growing into it. And me, Mitch, and Jason, I think we all had an absolute blast doing the Atlantic Showdown. I hope to God we can get another event like that with the big online qualifiers leading to an event, because it was really good fun to do over that time. And obviously that led into Gamescom, which was absolutely fantastic, blew away. My God, was it a packed schedule, because I think we crammed it all in, was it 1 day or 2 days? We crammed it all in 2 days, didn't we? We crammed the entire tournament into 2 days. Packed schedule, that's for sure, but was definitely worth doing. So it was great to get on through. Moving on from Overwatch for now, we'll go back to BlizzCon in a little wee bit. I actually started commentating Forza. It's strange how that came around, because Joe Miller, who's obviously, you all know, in the office, is kind of our boss. Well, he is our boss, there's no doubt about it. Basically mentioned to me, because I'm kind of the only guy in the office that follows motorsport in any way. So it's just like, Lee, you kind of watch cars and stuff, don't you? And they needed a commentator for Forza. And actually, it just turned out that I'd commentated Forza many years ago for World Cyber Games. So I had done it before, but not for Forza 6. So ended up, I met with Rene. You all know Rene Butler. He's the other commentator for Forza, and he's also massively passionate about it. So we ended up, casting Forza for, I think we did the Formula E, which happened, we had the qualifying period and then the finals in London at Battersea Park. Really good fun. A lot of feel and a lot of different change of pace to commentating in Forza, and some might argue I still didn't do a great job at it, but I did okay at it. There was a lot to do in there, but it was good because I was rediscovering my love for basically casting just different games, not just obviously games that you can enjoy. Because while I may never get completely into a game, I love casting, and it's sort of once you get back into that phase of like, you're doing smaller shows, you're doing big shows, you're doing the stage events, you can kind of get lost in it a little bit if all you're doing is these massive stadium events, and you get a bit blasé about it, and suddenly you're just like, when you have to do a small one, you're like, oh God, am I back to doing this? But that for me was great, because I was back to doing just a little studio show, and then also in between I was doing these big stage events, and it was a nice mix of things, and it kind of got me grounded again a bit, which I think I needed probably. But that leads us through, obviously with Forza going on, we're already into probably around about September time here. It started to get a little crazy towards the end of the year. Now, I think from probably September onwards, it just went crazy. Like I was traveling a lot. It took a bit of a toll on my private life as well, because I've been traveling a lot. My poor girlfriend was being left in the lurch quite a lot by me. So apologies to her for that. Sorry, Anna. She's off in the side room at the moment, probably listening in on what I'm saying. But very sorry. But obviously that sadly is the good and the bad side of commentating. Is while it's good that you get the events, it's also crazy amounts of travel. Now I just saw Yanko in Counter-Strike. He's just got Analyst of the Year, and credit to him. But he did 220 days on the road this year. 220 days. 2/3 of the entire year was spent doing events. That is mind-blowing. And that's just really the dedication that you kind of need to be at this level sometimes, if you're that engrossed in a scene. And that's just crazy amounts of travel. That's way too much for me, but all credit to him for that. But anyway, that leads me into, like I say, in September. Now, in September, we actually got to commentate with Phil Whitfield for the first time, Momo, who's in our office. He's a Call of Duty commentator, has been doing Call of Duty, was a former Call of Duty player, is a Call of Duty commentator. Really nice guy. Sadly, he's a Manchester United fan, but we can't all be graced with the presence of Liverpool. So instead, he was a Man United fan. So we had a good bit of banter between each other already in the office. But I ended up casting CrossFire with him, which is a game I'd also cast probably, back in maybe WCG 2011, I think. The WCG 2011, which was in Korea. I think that was the last time I cast CrossFire. I might have done it with Joe. It was either with Joe or Reddit. I think it was with Joe. I think I did it with Joe many years ago, just randomly at WCG finals. But I got into doing CrossFire because we had the European regional finals. So I got in contact with some of the players, and I tried to learn as much as I can. There's only 5 maps to pick from in CrossFire, so it's not too bad map pool-wise, despite the fact there's about 30 maps out there or something crazy like that. But they only use a map pool of 5, so they've got themselves limited down. It's nice. And it actually turned out to be pretty good fun, in fairness. I hadn't watched it or looked at it for a long time. It's only MR9, so it's nice, quick and easy games, despite the fact they have 2.5-minute rounds, so it sometimes can be a bit long, but it was good fun, and that actually led us to doing an event. So I was quite grateful for the fact we just did this little Studio 4 show. Now, Studio 4, in case you're unaware, ESL is one of the small studios. It's the unproduced show. So basically, I was the producer, which, holy cow, was scary. And if anyone saw my Overwatch production of the Overwatch World Cup qualifiers will know just how scary that was when I had to do Spain. But anyway, I had to produce the show as well as casting it with, obviously, Phil. Phil hosted it, etc. And that led us to doing Manila. So pretty happy about that. We ended up basically going along to Manila for a week to do the Crossfire Stars Invitational. And ESL were producing it, I believe, that event as well. Was a pretty damn good experience, I'm not going to lie. We ended up being put in a 5-star hotel for the week. And he actually had a day's rest, which is something you never have at an event. We also got given a guided tour around the city. This is amazing. You never get these things at events. So we had a tour guide. Granted, I did eat some crazy stuff. I ended up eating chicken intestines and pig intestines, and I drew the line at Bulot, if anyone knows what that is. Dota people out there will certainly know what it is, because they've seen the ESL 1 Manila guys eating Bulot, which I refuse to do. Basically, anyway, long story short, chicken embryo, kind of half developed and then killed off, and then you're like, bleh, and you take it down in one. It's just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But anyway, we got a tour around the city of Manila, and we got to obviously enjoy the event. So it was a good event. It was a good event. I'm not going to lie. We got to finally have a day sitting around the pool, which is something we never get any of these events, despite the fact we always go to these sometimes glamorous locations. Generally, we just spend the time either in a TV studio or a convention center of some kind. But anyway, while I was there, I found out I was going to be doing BlizzCon. Now, Mitch and Jason were in China at the time. I was in Manila. So we were all coming back. I think we had about a week in between. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit longer, maybe. But it was pretty short period of time either way. And it was great because finally, I've been wanting to do BlizzCon for God knows how many years that I've been watching BlizzCon. I've been wanting to do it for a hell of a long time. That's all I know. It was one of those events. And now, obviously, as a commentator, you put notches on your belt. I've done that big event, I've done that big event, I've done that big event. And BlizzCon was one of the events I've always wanted to do. Despite the fact, I know, it's just a convention center at the end of the day. I know that now, but it's still BlizzCon. It's Blizzard. They always do great games. So I wanted to finally experience it. But I only ever wanted to go there as a commentator. It's the same with E3. Eventually I'll get to do E3. But I only want to go there as a commentator, which is pretty tricky because it's like an industry type thing. So it's not really commentator thing. It's the same as CES, which is going to be at the start of January, I believe, in Vegas. So the Consumer Electronics Show. So it's sometimes game stuff happens there, but it's one of those things I only ever want to do as a commentator. But anyway, BlizzCon, I finally got under the belt. Obviously, absolutely delighted. We were doing the Overwatch World Cup, which I was a little hesitant with to begin with going into it because I'm never completely sold on national type tournaments. Because obviously I've done the whole thing at World Cyber Games, and for me, the problem is while it is an exhibition, effectively, sometimes the players may or may not be taking it seriously, and that as a commentator, the last thing you want to do is be thinking, I've got to commentate in this game, and if you see teams pissing around, it's really annoying because you've got to keep your professionality, and you clearly see teams kind of taking the piss. Which gets annoying. But thankfully, the Overwatch World Cup actually turned out to be a fantastic tournament. It brought together, obviously, a bunch of YouTubers, streamers. Actually, I don't know if there's any streamers in there, but YouTubers. And obviously a load of pro players. Great to get to know them because they all mingled. And, sure as hell, we've actually found, obviously, Mickey's gone and ended up joining Envy. Now, that would have never, ever happened if it wasn't for that Overwatch World Cup. You would not have got a guy from Thailand, really happy guy from Thailand, joining Envy, because this was a bunch of Europeans and one American. That would have never happened without the Overwatch World Cup happening. So obviously we've already had that. We've had another bunch of team changes since. Now, a lot of it was kind of birthed from around that event because teams discuss, obviously various nations, etc., people speaking the same language, people mixed into different teams and they ordinarily wouldn't play with, or maybe they didn't even get along with. But either way, it turned out to be a fantastic event because of that, because people were kind of thrown together in this mix and forced to play well. And actually, we got some really good matches, surprisingly really good matches, despite the fact Korea kind of stomped everyone, which I think everybody knew was going to happen. We knew it was there or thereabouts going to be Sweden or Finland to qualify, and sure as hell it was. But overall, it was an absolutely exciting event. Great to be in doing it for 2 weeks as well, while we did only get 1 day off, which was less than ideal. But we managed to go to Disneyland, so it was great. And also managed to take my girlfriend along to the event, which was really pleasant to finally have her along at an event, because often I'm traveling and basically sitting in hotel rooms and whatnot at events. But yeah, that was BlizzCon. And then I think after BlizzCon, I probably had about a week or two break. I say break, obviously I was back in work, but... and then basically it was coming up to DreamHack. Now, DreamHack Winter, I hadn't done DreamHack Winter since, I think probably 2013. I'm trying to think, it's 2013 or 2012. It was when League of Legends had, they had a stop at DreamHack, and then they had a stop in Moscow. But it would have been DreamHack Summer. I think it was probably 2013. When we did the DreamHack and then Moscow, when LCS used to be on the road. In the early days. But yeah, I went to DreamHack, and I was a little miffed to begin with because I hadn't been picked to do Overwatch. I was doing FIFA instead. And I obviously at the time, I'd just done BlizzCon. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm back in the Overwatch bandwagon, really enjoying life. And I was kind of miffed that I hadn't been picked to do Overwatch there. But it turned out, I'd done FIFA. I've done the FIFA Interactive World Cup. Actually, I didn't mention that. I did the FIFA Interactive World Cup in finals in, I think they were May or March. I'm not too sure. Somewhere around there in New York. Fabulous event. So Frank Lampard there, David Villa, Alexi Lalas, and such. And me and Joe had been back, obviously, together commentating. And that's exactly what was happening here. We were doing FIFA. It was me, Joe, and Phil Whitfield again. So Momo was back in there. So the greatest thing about FIFA, it's fantastic to commentate because basically it's football. I absolutely love football. I'm a big football fan. It's actually a goal I'm aiming toward. My future goal is to become a real-life football commentator for real sports, traditional sports, etc. Do football, be it Premier League or whatever. I don't know. Somewhere along the line, that's what I want to get into. It's a really difficult path to get into, as probably esports casting is for anyone that's watching. To get into the traditional sports commentating, very difficult path. It's one I ultimately aim to do, but doing FIFA is really good because the players are really nice. They're really nice guys. Like, because you ordinarily, basically it's a one-on-one. So ordinarily you'd have teams. Obviously Overwatch you have teams, League of Legends always have teams, Counter-Strike have teams. So the teams sometimes often just tend to stick together, stick to themselves. Well, FIFA is just one guy. So they're forced to mingle. They're forced to interact. So you have the FIFA guys. A lot of the guys in the scene know each other, but they were all really friendly to me. August Rossemeyer was there, who I knew from FIWC. So was Ivan Lapagna. I knew a couple of the guys already. So was Mohamed Al-Bakr, the FIWC champion. So I already knew a couple of guys there. So I got talking to those guys, and that got me talking to other guys. So it was really nice to be able to start talking to the scene again and get my head back into the FIFA scene, because it's really good fun to cast. We did the obviously duo casting, me and Joe obviously, and me and Phil, and Joe and Phil. So we had a good straight rotation. Grueling day. We did, I think on the Sunday, it was 10 a.m. till midnight. I think something like that. It was like a 14-hour casting day, so it was a really bloody long day either way. So but absolutely great fun doing Xbox and PlayStation, so definitely something looking forward to doing it in the future if I can get to do some more FIFA. So it was somewhat surprising. Like, obviously I was kind of annoyed that I wasn't doing Overwatch, but I was happy doing FIFA, so it wasn't the end of the day. And as it happened, obviously Overwatch had problems at that event, so probably came out better, I don't know. Either way, again, crazy schedule throughout the year. Moving on, I was back a single day, one day, and then I was off to China. I was off to do the CrossFire Stars Invitational. That was in the start of December, so we're already at the end of November, start of December now. So off I was on a jet to China. Now, I did China, I did Shanghai there. Probably the last time I was there was Shanghai, would have been with League of Legends All-Stars, probably 2013, I think it was, 2014, somewhere around there. I did League of Legends All-Stars. Didn't really enjoy it that time. And again, I didn't like it this time. I'm not a fan of China, sadly. Like, I'm sure it's a great place. I'm sure there's a lot of decent things in China. But every time I've been there, I've not had a good trip. I've not enjoyed it. I felt kind of a little bit of a prisoner. We were in a business district hotel. There was absolutely nothing at all there. So you basically were sat in your room for a week. The venue itself was nice enough, and the games went well, and I actually enjoyed casting Crossfire once again. So it was good to do, because for me it's a fairly simple game to cast. It's straightforward. There's no economy. It's just straight max round 9. Get in there, 5v5, shoot the shit out of each other, and plant the bomb if you can. It's as simple as it gets in terms of FPS, and it's crazy popular out in the East, not so much in the West. So obviously you guys, while it is technically the biggest FPS in the world, I think it's got like a 8 million regular player base and like, I don't know, 20-30 million people register, something crazy like that. It's basically huge in China, etc. So naturally, Chinese team went and won it, but Europe managed to reach the final. We had some good games in there, really close games, so it was good fun. And that was me and Phil doing it once again. So we had this crazy week in there. Matt Andrews was along with us as well. So we had a little bit of good time, but I just didn't enjoy China. I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't an experience I enjoyed. So anyway, while I was out there, Intel Extreme Masters Korea got announced. So it was like, yay! I'm on the road again. So I got back for like 5 days, and then I was off to Korea again. So I literally came from China. Now, if anyone knows the map, China's here, Korea's there, like right next to it. So I came back for 5 days and went all the way back there again. So it was a 12-hour journey back. So I basically lived out of Frankfurt Airport for a short period of time. But we went off to Korea to the Intel Extreme Masters. First time Overwatch was doing it, which was great. Sadly, it was only 5 games in the entire tournament. It was like single elimination, best of 5. We actually had brilliant games there, and I love Korea. Seoul for me is like a completely different place. But the problem is we weren't in Seoul. We were a little bit outside of it, so we weren't in the centre. But you could easily get there. It was like about an hour away, I think. But Korea for me, I absolutely love Korea. It's very westernized, I think it's safe to say. Obviously, America helped them out many years ago through the Korean War, so I guess that's probably where it all came from. But although still very heavily Korean. You've got all the Western things there. You got basically every shop and food and restaurant you can think of. And I actually really like Korean food. Korean barbecue is really good. But anyway, it was the last event of the year. It was pretty stretched out. Like I say, 5 games, best of 5s over 3 days. Not so much fun for me, and I don't really know if it's so fun for the viewer either, because you're kind of stretching out. But the way they did it, I understand how they did it, because they had the one big stage, and you had StarCraft, League of Legends, and Overwatch. So you're rotating through the stage. We actually had some really good games, and it was good to be casting both with Mitch and Jason again. We ended up tri-casting the final, which is pretty good, I think, overall. I haven't watched back at the VOD yet, so I kind of want to watch the VOD back. It's always good to watch back what you do, to see whether, the good and bad bits, where you fucked up, basically, where you did good things, where you did bad things, to figure out where the chemistry was lacking, like if you were talking over someone or if you didn't hand off correctly, especially with a TriCast. The way it worked was I was being the main play-by-play guy, and I would hand off mid-fight to Mitch, or if I was talking would start, Mitch would start and he would hand off backward forward, and the second we ended, we'd hand off to Jason. Jason would analyse it straight away. But the important part is, when you are tri-casting, is to do it as quick as possible. So you finished your cast, you finished your play-by-play, finished the big fight, bam, straight off. Don't fill, don't over-talk, don't start analysing, because what the fuck is the next guy going to talk about? And let's face it, why would I analyse when Jason sat there, who can analyse it far better than I can, along with Mitch? So that was the way it worked, and I think it went well. We had pretty good finals overall. Luxury Watch Red ended up winning it. Obviously, it was 5 guys from Luxury Watch Blue and 1 guy from Red, but it was really nice. So we had tears in the end there. So it was a good event to cap it all off, despite the fact I got food poisoning on the last day. Would you believe it? Me, Mitch, and Jason, we went to I don't know where. We went to some Mexican place, either way, on the border, I think it was. And I basically caught food poisoning that day. Like, we went there at lunchtime, ended up missing the party, after party, and just basically puking my guts up the whole night. It wasn't fun, but anyway, that was the end of my trip. It was like, yay, end of 2016, you got food poisoning, woo! But that was the end of the year, and I was finally back home, and then jetted off to the parents, and finally had Christmas. So I've already gone on for a long time. I can see I'm already 32 minutes in, so it's a lot longer than I'd planned to go. But let's talk about 2017. What's coming up in 2017? Well, hopefully, to start with, obviously, more Overwatch. That's the big plan. Certainly hope to see it. There's nothing on the horizon for me at the moment. I've got to see how and where that's going to go. As you can see, I'm already presenting my Overwatch shirt. I really enjoy casting it. But I absolutely love casting Overwatch. I love FIFA, and I enjoy Forza. It's like so I've got 3 games already that I'm enjoying casting, and I'm looking forward to more. I want to look for games out there. I know I haven't actually played the new Bloodlines game, but it looks pretty good. I reckon whether that'll be good. It's a quick 2v2, 3v3 type game. Maybe something like that. I don't know how popular it's going to become. It hasn't obviously been released yet. It's still in very early access. But yeah, 2017, I certainly plan to stream a lot more. I will be streaming as of tomorrow onwards throughout January. February, it already looks pretty busy for me though. I've already got 8 events planned currently. Nothing confirmed yet. But it's already looking like it's going to be a busy start to the year. So it's looking very good for me, basically, in 2017. And for the first time, I think since I've been here, I'm coming up to 4 years in Cologne now. But this is the first year that I've literally sat there going, I'm going to enjoy being in Cologne this year. It's going to be a good year, I think, hopefully. I'm going to be settling down with my girlfriend, and we're going to be having a great 2017. And I hope to see you guys along the way. Thank you very much for watching. That's basically been my year in review. It started off pretty shit, ended up fucking great. That is 2016 in a nutshell. Let's hope 2017 is just brilliant all year.